We're talking about the brand new app that we have available for Bible Engagement Project. And so I'm curious to know how many of you have already downloaded the app, how many have already used our resources. So I'm going to launch a poll here. So you're seeing on your screen pop up a 3-question survey. So if you could quickly answer that, that just kind of helps us kind of gauge where everyone's at as far as, are you using the resources? Have you used them? Are you already planning on it? Do you have the new app or not have the new app yet? So I'll leave that up for like 30 seconds while I explain this next part. So if you do not already have the new app for Bible Engagement Project, I really encourage you to go ahead and to download that now. Or even if you do, open up your smartphone and or your tablet to the new app, because then you can walk through this tour that I'm about ready to give to the app. You can walk through it with me. You can follow along, because it's one thing to hear someone talk about it. It's another thing to actually, you know, touch it, do it, see it for yourself. And so you're seeing on your screen 2 different images. The image on the left is the icon, is the old app icon that will be expiring on September 30th. And that app will go away and you won't have access to it anymore. But currently today, if you search for Bible Engagement Project in the App Store, whether that's Google Play, if you have an Android device, or whether that's the App Store, if you have an Apple device, you will see that there's 2 apps available. There's the app on the left and the app on the right. So this specifically applies to anyone that has been an existing subscriber to Bible Engagement Project. So it's important to note that between now and September 30th, you can actually have both apps on your device. And I encourage you to do that because we're still in the process of migrating some of the content from the old app over to the new app. So between now and September 30th, we're continuing to migrate some of the content over, which I'll get into as we get into the presentation. So you can have both. But one thing for existing subscribers to be aware of, when you download the new app, which is the orange one on the right, you will select create a free account. You're going to create a new account login. You're not going to try to log in with your old credentials because you'll discover that's not working. So if you've done that and you're like, hey, I've tried to log in, it's not letting me. Well, that's because your old login credentials won't work on the new app. So make sure that you're selecting create a free account. But if you want any of your session notes, let's say you took session notes in the old app, if you want your session notes to transfer to the new app, you need to make sure that when you're creating your new account, you create on the new app that you create, that you use the same email address. I'm getting twisted in my words. So when you create your new account on the new app, use the same email address, and that is what will migrate all of your notes over. So let me look at the poll and see what the answers I got here. Awesome. Okay. That's love it. Love it. Majority of you have downloaded the app. There's 8 of you that haven't. So I really encourage you to go search for that and do that now. In fact, on the screen now, there's some QR codes. So you can open the camera on your phone. If you're an Apple user, you'll scan the QR code on the left. If you are an Android user, you'll scan the QR code on the right. That'll take you directly to the correct app that you'll download. You'll select create a free account. It'll ask you some questions. Go ahead and get started in doing that. The majority of you are a pastor or you lead some sort of a ministry at a church. So that's 91% of you. So that's awesome. Love it. Well, hopefully today, so the goal of today is to give you everything you need to know how to operate the app and utilize the features so that you can roll this out to your key leaders, your key volunteers, and you can pass on that knowledge. So I'll give you examples along the way and kind of how you could use it, of how you could roll it out. But we will be answering live questions at the end. Many of you submitted your questions ahead of time in the registration process. We went through all of those, and that really helped us as I sort of mapped out the presentation today and what I'm covering. A lot of what I'm covering will answer some of the questions that you submitted ahead of time. So thank you so much for that. But as I'm going through the presentation, if you have any questions, you're like, oh, he went too fast there, or that raises another question, put your question in the Q&A feature. So down on the lower navigation where you selected the chat icon, where many of you have already like told us where you're joining from. If you haven't done that, make sure you type in the chat, tell us where you're joining from. But there's a little icon that says Q&A. Select Q&A, and that's where I want you to submit your questions that you have about Bible Engagement Project, about the presentation that I'm giving today. So make sure you submit your questions through that Q&A feature. To access that, that icon is right next to the chat icon in your Zoom navigation. So I'm going to switch over now, and I'm going to share my phone with you. So you're now sharing, or you're now seeing on the screen my iPhone. So I'm doing this from an iPhone today, but everything that you're seeing would apply to an Android device. I know some of the user interface is slightly different, but I'm going to be doing it from my iPhone today. So I've already walked through the process of downloading the app, creating my free account. The majority of you have. Hopefully the 8 of you that said you hadn't, hopefully you're in the process of doing that right now. This is a very visual presentation. So if some of you you've got me, kind of in the background while you're working, listening, it'll be much more helpful if you can make sure that you're actually seeing what's on the screen, because I'm going to be literally walking you through explaining what is on the screen. So on my device here, you're going to see down there towards the bottom, I've got those 2 apps, right? I've got the old app on the left, which that icon is white, and I've got the new app, which is orange. So I'm going to click on that new app. I'm going to launch it. We've got this cool kind of animated splash screen that comes up, and you're seeing this is the home screen. So when you log into the home screen, or when you first launch in, it's going to launch to the home screen. This is where you're going to track progress. So any resources that you have in progress, so I have the Listen curriculum here. So any resources you have in progress, you're always going to find it right here on the home screen. It's going to remember where you left off. It's going to help you stay on track. You'll also notice it's got this personalized greeting at the, at the top that says, "Good afternoon, Trevor." So depending upon the time of day, the color changes, the greeting changes from good morning to good afternoon to good evening. So that is your home screen. Another thing I'll point out about the home screen is up in the upper right, you'll see the little avatars, the circle with the photo. If I tap that, that opens into your app settings. So this is where you can find out, how do I give app support or get support from customer service? How do I give app feedback? How do I change my profile picture? How do I change languages of my device to change it to a new language? I just changed everything to Spanish. So those of you that are Spanish speakers, the app is fully available both in English and Spanish, with the dreams of being able to launch this in other languages as well. But right now, everything is fully in English and Spanish. Not just the app interface, but also all of the content I'm walking you through today, we have available both in English and in Spanish. So I'm going to switch back to English because unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish, but I wish I did. So here we go. So this is your home screen. So let's navigate over to the library. So your library that you're seeing right now, we've organized all the resources by age level. I'll just kind of slowly scroll down because I don't want to make anyone dizzy. So you'll see you've got kids resources, preschool curriculum, small group resources for youth, small group resources for adults. This is where you can find all the resources. You can sort your library by clicking on the sort feature, which is the icon just to the left of the word library. If you select that, you can say, hey, I want to see all the resources in Spanish. Boom, there it is. You're like, hey, I only want to see the Listen curriculum. I don't want to see the others. So now you sorted it. So you can sort and filter what you want to see, how you want your library to be viewed by utilizing that functionality. You'll also see here some of these, resource icons say coming soon. So what does that mean? Especially for those of you that you're an existing user and you're wondering, well, when does the other curriculums come over? So right now in the app, in the new app, we have all of the Listen curriculum in English and Spanish for every age level loaded on the new app today. Before the end of August, which we've got 2 weeks left, Before the end of August, well, a week and a half, right? Before the end of August, all of the Learn curriculum, which is the year 2 curriculum, will be loaded in the app. And then before the end of September, all of the Live curriculum will be loaded on the app, so that before the old app disappears, starting on September 30th, all of our content for every age level in English and Spanish will be loaded and populated onto the new app. So that's why it's important for existing users in this kind of this interim period as we're finalizing migrating all the content over. It's important for you to still have access to both of those apps and platforms in this transition period. So I'm going to come back to the library in a minute and launch into the curriculum, but I'm going to get right to the good stuff, right? Let's talk about groups. Let's talk about how do you set up groups? What's the purpose of groups? How do you easily invite other people to have access to all of the resources and engage with the resources right here in the app? Well, it's very simple. You do that all in one place right here from the app. So what is the purpose of groups? So if you are leading children's ministry, here's a couple of different ways that you could leverage this particular functionality. You could create a group for just your kids' leaders, just those key volunteers or key staff members that co-lead the children's ministry with you. Maybe they co-teach it with you. You can do all your in-app messaging and your correspondence right here in the app where the resources are located, so that everything related to teaching the curriculum is happening right here in one ecosystem, rather than having separate email threads or separate text threads. You can literally do it right here from the app where the curriculum is actually located. We have family devotions that coordinate with every week's kids lesson. So as a children's pastor, you could create a group with families, right? Moms, dads, grandparents, guardians. You could have a group just for them. And so you could stay in correspondence. You could keep families updated on, hey, this is what your kids just learned today about who God is, that with God, I can be brave was our faith fact. And then here was the verse that we, that we discussed today, and you could encourage them to get involved, to do the family devotions. So that's another use case that you could utilize the groups for your adult small groups or Sunday school or your youth small groups. Each small group could have its own separate group created. So from an administration level, you could push that responsibility down to your small group leaders or Sunday school leaders. They create their own groups. They invite all their members. Or you could create it up here, and then you invite the small group leaders first. And that way you could be a part of those groups as well to keep kind of in the loop of what's happening. So really there's a lot of flexibility. No two churches do things alike. So there is a lot of flexibility in how you could leverage the technology. So there's just a few ideas that you can take and you can run with, and you can modify it for what works best in your context. So let's create a group. So to create a new group, next to group up there, you'll see a plus sign icon. If I select that, it's going to open this bottom sheet, say create a new group or join a group. So let's create a group. So what's today? Thursday. So let's call it Thursday webinar. And I can add an avatar by selecting the image up there. I can take a photo. I can upload from library. You also don't have to do that. You can edit it or do it later, but for the sake of this, let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to turn around, do a selfie. Right, this is real time, people. Now, and then I'm going to create a group, and boom, it is creating the group right now. So that group is created. And so now it's like, how do I invite people? Now, some of you, you're going to get this and you're going to join the group real fast because you know how to join with the code. So when I show this code, I encourage you to select the plus sign right now. If you already have the app, you're going to say join a group. This text field is in, and you're going to type in this 6-digit code that is about ready to appear on your screen. So here's the group, manage the group. Currently, I'm the only member. So type in that 6-digit code, and I guarantee any second we're going to see some people join here. Oh, yep, Pam figured it out. Jody figured it out. That's awesome. Brent, Andy, Mark, Lulu. That's awesome. Joe, Natalie, Michelle. Oh, you guys are good. I love it. So as you can see, how easy it was to create the group, to invite other people they can join by code. Of course, you can invite people by texting people a link that they click. All you do is click that big button right there. I mean, it's very simple. Invite members, and then it pops up here. Hey, do you want to airdrop it to somebody? Do you want to send it as a text message? Do you want to email it? I can select any of those options. So let's say I want to email it. It opens up an email right there, and then I can customize the message, say whatever I want to say. It sends me the link, or I can do it. I'm going to send it to Andrea on my team. It's going to text her a link. I'm going to also text it to Allison on my team. So everyone say hi to Allison and Andrea in the chat. They're the ones that's fielding all the questions as it's coming in. So they're rock stars here. So what happens is if somebody doesn't already have the app downloaded on their device, when you email them a link or you text them a link, it will recognize, hey, you don't have this app, and it'll take them to the appropriate app store or Google Play Store. And then they will download, install the app, create their own free account. And then when they launch into the app for the first time, it'll automatically add them to the group. And then when they go over to the groups tab they'll see this list view. They'll see, oh, I'm a part of this group called Thursday Webinar, right? Or whatever you want to call the group. And so now you've created a group. So let's talk a little bit about managing your groups and what are the differences between the roles, because you'll notice some people here were called, so I'm the leader, these other people are members. So we'll get into that. So to manage your groups, right? You just, in your lower navigation, you're going to click groups. You'll see the list of how you can create as many as you want. You'll see the group you want to manage. You'll open up into that group, Thursday Webinar. You'll see here, current resource. So if you are the leader of the group, so if you created the group, you're automatically the leader, and anyone else you invite is only a member. And I'll talk about the differences. And you do have the ability to change people's roles to elevate somebody else to have leader privileges, and then they could have the same privileges that you have as a leader. But you have the ability as a leader to assign a resource to the group, to unassign a resource, to remove it. And you would do that by selecting that. It would take you to the library. Let's say that we're a small group. I would select into the resource. You'll see here the resource, and next to the start button, there's a little invite, the person with a plus sign. If you select that, then it's going to pop your options, continue with the group, and it's going to ask you, do you want to assign it to a group you've already created, or do you want to create a brand new group? If you want to create a brand new group, you would walk through the same process that I just showed you. So I'm going to assign it to the Thursday webinar. Now, if you navigate over to the groups tab and you look back in to that group, you'll see that now this is appearing for you, and you can all see this now. Now, because I'm the leader, I have an X on it, so I can actually delete it. I can actually assign more than one resource, right? So let's say we take a pause from one resource, we're going to go to another resource. I can actually have more than one resource assigned here. So managing the members of your group. Up in the top center, you'll see it says Thursday webinar with the avatar. It says we have 29 members. If I select that, you're going to see there the list of all your members that are in the group now, right? So you'll notice that everyone says members. But if I'm co-teaching this, let's say I'm co-teaching this with Allison Lombus, so she's on my team here, I would click on that more icon. It's those three dots, that breadcrumb. If I select that, it'll say, hey, change role to leader or remove from group. So if only leaders have the ability to remove somebody else from the group. If you're just a member, you can only remove yourself. You can't remove anyone else. So I want to change Allison to be a leader. So you'll see her role changed. I'm also going to change Andrea to be a leader. So now her role's changed too. So now they have the ability to do some of the same functionality that I can do as well. So there's a little bit about the differences in the members. So now every group that you create has a corresponding in-app message thread that it creates. And to access that, there's the chat icon that's in the upper right. It's right next to my avatar. And I would select that. It opens up into the message thread. Then I'm going to click open Thursday webinar. Now I have my phone silenced, so I'm not getting notifications. But if I didn't, I'd be getting push notifications that would show up in my, in the notification center here, right? So right here, it's showing everyone that has joined. So I'm going to say, hey team. And so I encourage you, if you're here right now, go ahead and send us an emoji right here in this message thread. Send us a message because it's kind of fun. Hello, that's awesome, Cece. Jody, love it. Dennis, you got it. Okay, so another thing I'm going to show is if you are the leader of the group, you're also essentially, this is fun, I love this. This could also be dangerous, so please be good. But if I'm the leader, I can delete not just my message, but I can delete a message anyone else writes. So let's say, someone posts something, you're like, I wish they wouldn't have said that. They spoiled the secret, or, that's a little bit, of a negative tone. And we don't want that to be something we discuss in this group. So I'm just going to pick on somebody. I want to pick on Andy here. He did a thumbs up. So if I wanted to delete that, I was like, I don't like thumb up emoji. So I'm going to delete Andy's emoji there. I would hold my finger over his message, right? And it's now going to pop up and say, hey, you can delete that message. And then poof, it's gone. And I can delete. Now, you guys can delete your own message. So go ahead and try to do it if you want to. You hold your finger over your own. If you're like, I misspelled something, I'm going to delete it, or I wish I wouldn't have said that. You have the ability to delete your own message, but you can't delete anyone else's. Only if you're a leader can you do that. So it's up to you to decide what is appropriate or not appropriate, and you as a leader can moderate the conversation in the group. Now, if you're the leader, you have the ability to remove anyone from the group. To manage that, you click up in the top center there where the name is, and that takes you into how you manage your group. You can select here, and I can remove somebody from the group. If you're the leader of the group, I scroll to the bottom, you can delete the group. And if you delete the group, it's gone for everybody. So let's say it's like, this group is disbanding. I'm creating a brand new group. This is how you would delete the group right there. So that's a little bit about the group messaging, the difference in the roles between leaders and members, how you could utilize the groups right there, how you assign a resource and unassign a resource from the groups. So we've talked about the home screen, about how this is where you track the progress of any resources you have in progress. We've talked about the library, and this is essentially your storefront where you find all the resources that you want to do. We talked about the purpose of the groups tab, how to use it, leverage it for community, all right there in the app. So let's launch into the actual content. So I'm going to go back to the library, and I'm going to start over here. I started this resource. I'm going to reset the plan progress back to 0. And so now you'll notice when I go back to the home screen, it says nothing started. So this is what it looked like for you when you first logged in, right? So it's pushing you, it's nudging you to, hey, check out our resources in the library to start a resource. Then I can navigate over to the library. And like I said, maybe this is a small group we're going to be doing together. Or you know what? I'll use kids curriculum as this example. So no, I won't. I'll come back to that. Let's do listen adult. So here I want to launch into the plan. I'll say start plan. Volume 1, session 1 is what you're seeing. And I'm just going to highlight just a few of the features in the actual content. So this would apply to whatever resource we select. The kids resource has a few additional things, so I will come back to that, but I want to do this first. So anywhere where there's a scripture reference, you can select that. So I'm going to tap on where you see it says read Psalm 119:11. When I select that, it navigates me directly over to the Bible tab. And you'll see up in the upper right, it says, hey, you selected Psalm 119-11, and it underlines what I'm supposed to read. Now, this comes in especially handy if there's maybe there's 5 or 6 or 10 verses, like it's a block of text that you're supposed to read, and you call on somebody, say, hey, Andrea, why don't you read for us, this next passage or this next grouping of verses? And this way now you know where do I start and stop reading because it's underlining it for you. And of course, in the upper left navigation, you click session, that'll navigate you right back where you left off. But before I do that, I want to point out a few things now that we're in the Bible tab. So I'm going to scroll to the top here. You'll notice here at the top, right now it says I have the ESV translation. You guys don't have the ESV translation currently appearing in your app because we haven't published that to the live app store. I have the next version that will be released public within a matter of days. But if you select that, you'll see the list of English translations we have available and the list of Spanish translations we have available. So you can change to the translation of your choosing. The icon on the right, it's like a little down arrow with a line underneath it. That's how you download it for offline viewing, so that if you don't have connectivity somewhere, like if you're on an airplane and you're in airplane mode, you want to be able to read the Bible from the app, you can download it for offline viewing, and that's how you do it from right there. So, of course, just to the left of that where it says ESV, you can select where it says Psalm 119, and you can select the book of the Bible that you want to navigate to. You can expand that. You can go directly to a particular chapter in the book that you want to go to. And then just to the left of that, you'll see a big T, little t. That's what you'll select, and it'll change the font size to large, small, medium. The standard is just medium, is what it's kind of preset to. So that's a little bit about the Bible and how you do those functionalities. Two other things that you can do. If you hold your finger over a verse, you can choose to highlight it, right? And now it's highlighted. Of course, you tap again, you can click on the circle with a line through it. You can unhighlight it. If you hold your finger on it, it looks like a diagonal pen. If you select that, it opens up a note box. And I can take a Bible note, right? Now I've saved it. And now you'll notice that the text kind of changed to that kind of greenish color. And there's a little note icon. So next time you're reading the Bible, you'll see, oh, I left a note there. I wonder what I said, or I want to edit the note. You would tap that. It opens up into the note. You can edit the note by right here. And that you'll see that little more icon, the breadcrumb. You'll select that. You can say delete the note, edit the note, or share the note. What's really cool about share the note, if I say share it, I'm going to share it with the Thursday webinar chat thread. And so now if you navigate over to the chat thread, you guys will see I just shared a Bible note to you. So maybe something stood out to you in the Bible and you wanted to share it with others, like, hey, I was reading this verse today, and this really encouraged me, and I want to encourage you guys with this promise from Scripture as well. You can share that right there in the message thread. You can share session notes, you can share personal notes, and you can share Bible notes. So that same functionality works for any of those three types of notes that you take. So that is a little bit about the Bible tab. And like that note that we just took, the Bible note, it's cataloged over here in the notes tab. So we've organized into three separate folders: your session notes, your Bible notes, your personal notes. You can edit them right here from this area as well. You can delete them from here. You can share them from here, just like you can from within the actual session themselves, or within the actual Bible note itself. So let's go back over to library. And like I said, so we started the plan, we started it. So you'll notice over here in the on the home screen, now it's appearing saying, hey, you've started this resource. So I can launch back directly to the table of contents if I want to. If I click this kind of square icon with the Listen Adult, if I select that, it navigates me back to what we call the table of contents view of the curriculum. I can expand and retract any of those accordion folders, and it'll help you, and you can launch into the resource right from there. So every session has multiple components. So session one has a group session, what we do in community, and then it has your personal daily devotions too. And so there's how you access it from there. But we have these sort of like, they're called Devo clouds, but they kind of look like bubbles, right? And so you'll be able to know like, hey, the group session, I didn't complete it, it's still in progress. So I'm going to click on that Devo cloud, launch me back into the session so I can continue kind of navigating through it. Anywhere where there's a discussion question that you would discuss out loud with your group, you can take notes on it. So you would open up a note field, you can type, it'll save a note. It saves it here in the session, but of course it saves it over in the notes tab too. And so you can view the answer anytime. You can delete that answer if you want to. Let me select all here, and I'm going to delete it. Boom. And now it says answer question instead of view answer because there's nothing there. It's empty. So I'm going to continue through. So anywhere where there's a video. So you can play the video right from here. You can screen mirror it through your device to a television, a smart TV, and directly from here. So what you do is you'd want to click that expand button. That's kind of like those two arrows kind of going in a diagonal direction. It'll make this full screen. You turn it sideways. And now when you cast it to a TV by clicking that, icon in the lower right, any smart TV or device that you have that you can mirror to will appear. And then now you've got the video casting kind of full widescreen right there. Now we do give you the option to download all the videos as well. So I'll walk you through that in just a minute, where you can download the actual MP4 file. Let's say you want to project it into a projection screen. And so you use a presentation software like ProPresenter or some other brand of a presentation software. We give you the actual source file so you can do that as well. But let's kind of navigate through here to the curriculum, kind of scroll through. Let's see. When you get to the end, you click finish. It gives you this success screen and navigates you back over to the home screen. And you'll notice that group Devo Clouds is green and it says complete now. And so that now you know the next day, hey, I need to start by doing the day one devotional. It's not complete. I would select that. It launches me directly into volume 1, session 1, day 1. I can go through the curriculum. I can complete it. But if I don't complete it, if I go back, it just says in progress, right? So you'll notice the colors change there. The words that says complete, in progress, are not started. Again, just to help you stay on track, to remember, where did I leave off the last time that I was in the app? So before I go any further, again, I'm about ready to switch to some live questions just in a few moments. So make sure you're giving us your notes. My team members, Allison and Andrea, they're probably already answering many of your questions as they're coming in, but there are some questions I can answer live as time permits. So make sure you enter your questions through the Q&A feature. It's the icon right next to the chat icon on the Zoom navigation that says Q&A. Submit your questions there, and I'll get to that just momentarily. So let's go back to the library, and I want to talk about downloads. So I'm going to launch into the Listen Kids curriculum because this feature is especially really valuable to anyone in children's ministry because there's a lot more components and there's a lot more media assets involved in the children's curriculum. Printable handouts for kids. You can print the actual leader guide with the actual lesson that you're teaching. Maybe it's like, hey, I use the app to prepare throughout the week as I'm on lunch breaks at work, but when I'm teaching live in a classroom in children's church, I prefer paper. We do give you the Word documents because you can customize it to whatever suits your needs. We provide you with all your slides, presentation slides, all the video files. So to access those on any session, you would just swipe over and it reveals that more icon. You select that and you say download files, and it gives you your list of every file that you have available to you to download. And you can download and save these to your actual device. You can email them to yourself. So let's say I want to do the leader guide. I'll select that icon. It would download it, and then it gives me the option, hey, where do you want to save this Word document? Do you want to email it? And again, it does as an attachment. You can email it to yourself. You can text it to somebody. You can airdrop it to your computer, or you can scroll down and you say, hey, I actually want to save it to my device right there. And you could save it right there to your device, and you could discover it later. You could print it from your phone as well. For those of you that are a little more tech savvy, you can do all of that. So there is a lot of assets, and media that comes included with every single lesson. for the kids in the preschool curriculum. And that's how you access all of those files. Now, we do have a web app that is coming in the next couple of weeks. Everything that you see now that I'm showing you right here on your smart device, you'll be able to access online from our website, from a web app. So you could navigate, you could use it on both. So you could download these files directly onto a computer without having to email it or airdrop it to yourself. And that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. That's also helpful for, let's say you have individuals in your congregation, you're using the adult small group, right? Or, and they don't have a smart device, or maybe someone that's actually like teaching the kids curriculum, they don't have a smartphone, they can't download apps. But that maybe they have access to a computer with the internet, they could go online and they could engage in all the same functionality, group creation, inviting others, the in-app messaging feature, the Bible, all the resources. Everything I'm walking you through will also be a mirrored experience on the web app. And so those individuals that don't have a smart device, they'll be able to have that same experience and not have to miss out on some of the features. And so that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. We'll be announcing that. We'll be emailing all of you, posting it on our Facebook channels. We do have some Facebook groups that I encourage you guys to join. So if you're a kids pastor, we have a Facebook group just for kids pastors. If you lead like youth and adult small groups, we have a separate Facebook group just for that. And that's where you can interact with other church leaders utilizing the resource. So I encourage you to do that. So let's talk about download for offline viewing. If you swipe over, just like I did here, there's download files, there's offline viewing. If I download for offline viewing, you'll see that green bar will go across. It's going to download all of the content within a session to your device temporarily. And you'll see that I've previously done it. So you see that little check mark under where it says session 1. That's letting you know, hey, this has been downloaded for offline viewing. So if I put my phone in airplane mode, I wouldn't be able to access all the content in all these other sessions. But because I've downloaded this session for offline viewing, I'll be able to access all of this content, all the videos, all the slides, the actual curriculum in offline mode. That's especially helpful for if you are maybe in a rural area where internet connectivity or data is kind of spotty and you don't want there to be buffering issues when you're actually teaching the resource or going through it in community. The offline viewing functionality is especially useful for that. So with that, I believe we've covered everything. We've talked about the home screen, and this is where you track everything you have in progress, where you have access to your downloads, help and support, app settings, adjusting your profile, the library where all the resources are at, the Bible all right there in the app, how you can navigate to different translations in English and Spanish, your notes tab where all your notes are cataloged, how you could share notes to your in-app message thread. And then we've talked about the groups tab, the functionality, some use cases of how you could integrate that in your community. So with that, I am going to now open it up for questions here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and let's unmute Allison and on my team here. And if you could let me know if there's any questions I should answer live. I just asked to unmute you, Allison, so you should see that. All right. Hey, Allison.
Yes. Okay. So Andrew and I have gone through a couple kind of as we have been, as you've been talking and doing the presentation, but we do have a couple. So the first one is, can you have multiple devices logged into the same account?
Sure. However, I don't know that would be necessary because it's free now. So Bible Engagement Project, it used to be a paid subscription. And so now it's completely free. So everyone can create their own account, and there's not really a need to do that necessarily. But if there's some sort of a use case where you want to have a master account for some reason, you're certainly welcome to do that. But because it's free now, it's easily accessible to everyone. So we made it easy for anyone to create a free account. And if you're asking that because you're thinking about creating like the different groups and having like a moderator of a group, all you have to do is just invite somebody else and you can make them a co-leader with you and they'll have all the same privileges that you have. So
Yeah. I think this person might have been thinking having it like on their phone and on their tablet at the same time, but I think you still touched on it.
yeah.
Um, so another one that just came in is if you plan on using this for an adult Sunday school class, would you have the entire class download the app? Or is it better in that case to just present the material to the class each week?
So the way we've designed the resource is to be very discussion based. So it's not dated curriculum classroom style. It's very interactive, very discussion based. So it's and plus we have personal devotions that coordinate with every week's group lesson that you teach. So let's say that you do the Sunday school format instead of a small group, like an in-home small group. Let's say you meet on Sunday morning at like 9 a.m. at church. You'd still want all of the adults to have it on their device, to have their own accounts, because they could follow along with you as you're engaging in a conversation. And you as the leader, you're really more of a facilitator, not so much of an instructor teaching content. You're more facilitating the conversation and encouraging interactive dialogue. And then, like I said, every week's kind of lesson that you discuss in community, there's also like 4 or 5 days, depending upon the lesson, of personal devotions that every individual would have access to on the app, on their smart device, whether that's on the app or the web app when that becomes available. See right here, you're seeing, well, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Right here, there's the personal devotions. So you want every individual to have access to that, because the whole philosophy of what we're trying to do is to encourage people to discover that the Bible is relevant for my everyday life and to fall in love with reading and engaging with scripture. So that's why we have the personal devotions, to reinforce what they're learning in community with you, and to engage with the Bible on their own outside of when we just meet in community or when I hear pastor preach a message. So I encourage everyone to download it.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. So I think that we kind of touched on this as we went throughout, but we saw the question of, is this platform or app available on a computer? And we also saw, when will the web app be available? So if you could just kind of touch on both of those again.
Yeah, absolutely. So the web app will be a mirrored experience. So it'll essentially be, you'll go to BibleEngagementProject.com. It's not available right now, but you'll be able to log in and it'll give you access to a URL, which will be app.BibleEngagementProject.com. You'll log in with the same login credentials you created on your mobile device or your tablet, wherever you downloaded the app. And then you will have access there, and you'll have access to all the same features. As far as the release date on that, that'll be in the next couple of weeks. Our development team they actually started today working through some things on that, and so they're finalizing the development of that. So that's forthcoming. I mean, very soon, within the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. We also saw the question, just clarifying, are the English and Spanish program exactly the same, or are there differences between the two?
They're completely identical. The only difference would be just the videos are overdubbed in Spanish. And so that's the only difference. But it's all the same videos. It's all the same content, just, translated to Spanish. And as far as who wrote the curriculum, who was involved in translating, we worked with a team of children's pastors and youth pastors and lead pastors from around the nation who, helped advise us on developing all the curriculum. So we had an amazing team of practitioners from local churches all over the country. And then as far as like the overdubbing, we worked with a TV studio in Guatemala in Central America, and they helped us with many of the overdubbing specifically for the kids curriculum. And we're super excited with the quality of work that they did on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I see two more. So if we're currently using the Live curriculum, will we lose the ability to see that content if it's not on the app yet?
You'll need to make sure, so if you're using the Live curriculum, that will not be loaded on the new app until sometime in September. So that's why you need to make sure that you keep both of those apps on your device. So I'm assuming you have the other app there. So that other app, you'll be able to have both apps. So if you're using like Learn or Live curriculum that's not on the current app, we wanted to go before, instead of waiting until it was all released, we wanted to give churches plenty of time to kind of like figure out how they wanted to roll this out in their church, to get everyone transferred over, to communicate some of the information as far as like how you're going to roll this over. We wanted you to be familiar with the features. So we decided not to wait until it was all done, because we know many of you're starting back up your programming in September, and we didn't want to delay that. So that's why it's important for existing users to keep both apps on your device. So until we roll over the Learn curriculum and the Live curriculum, you'll need to still access that the same way that you do today. And then by the end of August, all of Learn will be there, and on the new app. And then by the end of September, before the end of September, all of the Live curriculum will be on the new app. And then after September 30th, the old app will go away. You won't have access to that anymore.
Okay. And then the last one that I see is, will teachers be able to see the answers of students within the app?
No, everyone's stuff, it's private, proprietary to themselves. So if I take a note in an actual session, only I can see it because it's my account. No one else has access to see my personal reflections or notes. But we did add that note sharing functionality that I showed you, so that if I wanted to share what I wrote, I could, with the group, I have the ability to share that with the in-app messaging feature within the app. So then it's up to the user to decide what do they feel comfortable with sharing.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was the last one. So I think we've covered it all.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Allison. Thank you guys so much. In fact, I think we're ending just a few minutes early here. I hope this is very, very helpful for you guys.